Meat inside of dough. A simple concept that humans have been utilizing since the dawn of time. Just look, there's so many different versions of meat inside of dough, so many different parts of the earth that do it, and that's what makes us really unique as humans. Like, we do the same thing, but just a little different. But today we're gonna focus on the Australian meat pie and a little history lesson behind it. Welcome to my mini-series called G.G.E, aka Global Great Eats. Here we are recreating different iconic and cultural foods from around the globe. So light backstory, coming from New York City, it's a big melting pot, a lot of different cuisines to try. Not enough money to try all the cuisines. So this is my version. In this series, we'll be choosing 3 countries from each continent on Earth, and a bonus 3 countries because Antarctica doesn't have any food. With that being said, without further ado, let's get into a little history. So the Australian meat pie did not originate in Australia, but they did come to adapt it and perfect it in their own way, which is why they have the right to call it an Australian meat pie. The actual origins come from the ancient times, which are the Egyptians, the ancient Greeks, and you guessed it, the ancient Roman. Now, normally when you think of pie, you think of a soft, flaky crust and nice dough and a nice filling. In medieval times, this pie crust had a different purpose. It wasn't for flavor at all. They actually called it a coffin. It was a thick, hard shell, and the only point of it was to protect and preserve the meat that was inside. With the Roman Empire eventually falling, they left behind a lot of culture. In England, a lot of this Roman culture was evolved and refined into their own ways. During this time, the classic pie structure we know today began to emerge. Thick edible pie crust, along with meat inside and a lid to close all the meat in. By 1788, when the British were expanding, they colonized Australia, and with that, they brought their cultures and tradition. Meat pies are a filling, cheap, and portable meal, so naturally, the working class men gravitated towards those first. By the early 1900s, Australia had become its own nation and slowly began to form its own identity. And with that came organized sports such as rugby and Australian rules football. Over time, stadium vendors needed food that was cheap, filling, and portable. By the 1950s, meat pies became a standard and staple stadium food. As Australia became more commercialized and industrialized, the demand for meat pies increased as well. During this time, companies like 4 and 20 seized the moment and began to mass produce pies in factories. This made it easily accessible at convenience stores and gas stations, not only special occasions. Over 270 to 300 million pies are eaten every single year by Australians. This averages to just about 10 to 12 pies per person per year. They even have a competition called the Official Great Aussie Pie Competition. Safe to say, this is a love story we'll never see the end of. Meat inside dough. Simple, ancient, and a staple to the universe. And for Australia, it became a part of their identity. All right, now, history class is over, and the cooking class will continue. As you can see, I've just been mixing and allowing the sauce to get thick. Now the sauce is all thick and ready, and the beef is nice and tender to the fork. I'm gonna mix it a bit just so everything can nicely incorporate. But for now, we're gonna finish and move the pot off of the flame and get ready to let it cool and bake tomorrow.
Overnight.
As you can see, I didn't have any actual pie tins, So what I did, I bought 7-inch pie tins. I cut through the middle and I shaped them into being 4-inch pie tins. Time to preheat the oven. And now we're gonna roll out some parchment paper so we can roll out some pie crust. Using the DIY tins, outline 4 pieces of pie crust. Next, you wanna add these to the pie tins. Now we're gonna transfer them over to the oven and we're gonna let them pre-bake because we don't want these pie crusts to be soggy and allowing the filling to spill out. So when we pre-bake them, they get firmer. They're nice and lightly golden, and here we're just cutting out the lids using puff pastry dough instead of pie crust. Next, it's time to assemble the pies by filling each pie pretty nicely with a nice chunk of beef and some extra sauce. And this is how the sauce looks the day after. It got more congealed, so it definitely got thicker. But here we go. This is the egg wash. I didn't have a brush, so I just used a piece of tissue. And now they're ready to go in for a bake. After some time sunbathing in the oven, it was time to get these bad boys out. And man, when I tell you these looked beautiful, I was proud of myself. This is the end result. Unfortunately, I didn't get a good video of my taste test, but I did get a good cross-section or a decent cross-section. Next time, I will do better, promise. But man, I was extremely proud of how these tasted, and I can't wait to hopefully go to Australia one day and actually get to taste these meat pies in Australia. That would be cool. For now, I'll be trying Australian meat pies from my humble abode in Queens. Until then, I'll enjoy this beautiful cross-section right here. And with that, that's the end of my video. Man, this was a journey, and once again, I hope you're willing to be with me during my journey. So like, comment, and subscribe for way more content to come. This was episode 1 of the G.G.E, the Global Great Eats. Episode 2 will still be in Australia, but this episode will be trying pavlova. Once again, thank you for watching. Whoever is watching, I hope you have a great, great day, a great week, and a great life. Thank you and be safe.